Favourite house rules for any system? How does it improve the gaming experience?
There's a bunch of stuff I could put in here. Some of it we still use, some of it we don't, some of it's stuff I've done in the past. Some of it's things I do just to make streaming games easier, because online it can get tricky. We imported the Blue Planet Initiative system, which I've talked about in other videos, so I'm not going to go over it again, into most games we played for a while. It was slower slightly, but initiative and combat is slow anyway, so it didn't make a huge difference. But it made more sense, and it made getting high initiative scores better, in that you didn't just go first, but that you were able to react to what was going on around you, and if you wanted, you could wait and then take your action in context of what everyone else was doing, which better emulates taking initiative in a situation. Stunts or bonuses kind of taken and transplanted from Feng Shui, not necessarily in the same way, but giving people bonuses for genre emulation, that sort of thing. That's been something I've done. Let me think. For a while, I used to give people bonus points or black marks for either disrupting the table or being too distracted on the bad side, or bringing extra snacks or really good RP, or just to slap some bennies to encourage people to pay more attention to the game, to get more invested in the game. Because if there's one thing that will motivate players, it's getting a bonus, particularly an experience point bonus. So that was a good way of kind of making sure people were paying attention and were taking the game with the seriousness that I wanted them to take it. Though I don't think I'd do that anymore. It's a bit too school marmy. One thing I do with like large groups of baddies in games, especially using Theatre of the Mind, is that I don't keep individual track of every monster's hit points. Instead, what I do is I have them listed down. I know how many hit points each one has, and I roll it over from creature to creature, so that fighter over here stabs a goblin and kills it. Okay, fair enough. Rogue over here stabs a goblin, leaves it with 1 hit point. Mage over here fighting a different goblin, smacks it with his staff, does 1 hit point of damage, but we're looking at the damage from the other monster, so the mage stoves in the skull of that goblin that he's fighting, even though it would in normal situations have more hit points. So it's just so much easier to keep track of, and it allows weaker combat characters to sometimes feel like they're being effective in combat, rather than just kind of hanging around, pecking off the occasional hit point from one monster or the other. So you sacrifice a little bit of realism, perhaps, but in terms of expediency and bookkeeping and everything, it's so much easier. Is there anything else that springs to mind? No. I mean, the main thing is make rulings, I think, rather than necessarily constantly referencing the rules. So make rulings, allow things to happen, and you can always look it up and correct later. And sometimes you find out that the ruling that you've made is better than the rule, in which case you might want to keep it. So that would be my advice.